Hello everyone, it's Miss Darling in the studio. Welcome. If you're new here, I hope you'll enjoy some of the content that I produce, and if you're a regular, I thank you for coming back again and again and being supportive of me. Anyway, I wanted to show you a journal I've been working on off and on for quite some time, and as we go through it, you're going to see masterboards turned into pages. You would have probably seen me make the masterboard in a separate video, and now you see what I did with it. So let's get started. Anyway, this is my take on a vintage high fashion journal, focused mainly on Vogue because that's where my imagery mostly has come from. But it's just, a tribute to high fashion, whoever's made it and wherever they're located. So I kind of went all out on my cover anyway. The inside is not as embellished as it could be, and that's deliberate because in the past I have loaded up my artistic journals with a lot of art and kind of neglected leaving spaces for someone to journal, and so I am not doing that in this one. Anyway, here's the tassel, and I used torn pieces from some of the fabric that I have used on the cover, and there's rickrack and ribbon and assorted things that are all compiled together and attached with this clip or clamp, a small clamp that I put on the spine, and it is removable. And because I'm dealing in fashion, I decided to use multiple colors of fabric, different fabrics, and kind of do it that way. This is how the back looks, and you can see it's very colorful and fun, and I've used a lot of reproductions of Vogue covers, dating from around the early 1900s to the 1940s. So I have sprinkled throughout this journal examples that I have taken from some of the reproductions of Vogue covers that I have in my studio. So here's the main cover, and you see there's another Vogue cover right there, and then I've embellished it. Let me see if I can get up close to that. I've embellished it with some lace ribbon that has some buttons hanging down, and a metal decorative, I think it was a button, and I clipped off the bottom of it so that it would lay flat, and a little bit more ribbon trim up here and the word journal. And then I have some small lace that I glued to the inside front cover so it would show on the front, but it's small so that you can still, even when the book is closed, you can still see the lace that's on the back cover, and so the two tie together that way. And so now we open it up, and I have 5 signatures. They are not attached to the journal cover. I've kept them loose so that a person could insert something else in one of their places. They can change the order. They can take one out while they're journaling on it so they don't disturb the others for, protections reasons. And so my signatures are not attached in any way to the cover. And here's what the inside cover looks, the inside front and the inside back. And again, I used examples from actual Vogue covers from decades ago. And I try to pick the ones that I feel that I like the best personally, but where I feel the color looks really good against the background of that particular page. And then we get to the back page and we have this other cover. So that's what I did with the cover. And so now let's take a quick peek at the signatures. This was my top one. You've probably by now seen a video of me making this particular masterboard that I'm using as the cover to this particular signature. And here was the front page and here is the back page. And that was the masterboard. And so you open it up. I've put a lot of coffee dyed paper in here. I did a video on this dark collage masterboard that I made, and I'm using that for the inside. And then we just go through, and as I said before, this is not heavily laden with a lot of ephemera, and there's plenty of places here to journal. And this is a large version taken from one of the Vogue covers, and I just love that. And so I cut out the usable part and included it on a page. This is part of another masterboard I made that I use for the Masterpiece Theater, Masterboard Theater, I should say, that I have made a few videos for that particular playlist. And here are two more Vogue covers. And this is the back end of that other masterboard. I did that on the computer. And here we come to this. Now this is a collage that I did that I'm using as an end tuck, and into that I've stuck some postcards and art cards and a tag. And everything has to do with fashion from one decade to another. Here's a lovely gal. Again, you can see where the word Vogue went across this cover. And here we have a computerized masterboard that I made. This was supposed to go in, I guess, with a journal I thought I would make dealing with peacocks. And if you have followed any of my Masterboard Theater videos, I did a video on peacocks, and so that's what that's from. Here I thought, well, I'm dealing with fashion and fabric, so I should have a pocket made out of fabric, and that's what this is. And then inside I've stuck some other ephemera, a tag you could write on the back, another tag, and this is a postcard. I feel it's important to me anyway, to try to make my colors blend from a left-hand page to a right-hand page, and so that it's a visual feast when you open it up, and it makes sense to be there. Because if I put in something that had altogether different colors that had no rhyme or reason with the pocket or the opposite page, it just doesn't feel right to me. And I know people do that, but that's not my style. And so I'm just showing you what I like to do. And so here's the flip side of that. And again, this is another fabric pocket. And into that, I put an art card, another tag, and another postcard. But you see the colors all blend together nicely. And this was the back cover. Again, this is the right-hand side of that dark collage masterboard that I made, and then the back page. This is signature number 2, starting out with a Vogue cover, and then I did a collage focused on butterflies, and so this is from that particular masterboard. And then coffee dyed paper, this beautiful gal. You think of the roaring 20s. The 20s are my favorite decade for fashion, by the way, 20s and 30s. And here was another Vogue cover. This was a masterboard I made on the computer using imagery that I had. Here we have 2 more Vogue covers, and again, it just, like I say, it just is a visual feast to look from the right hand to the left hand and back again. And the colors for me need to work together to be successful. On the back of this page, I clipped, well, this is the other side of that previous masterboard, and then I have 2 nice postcards. These I bought off of the internet from Amazon, and they're just, you know, really lovely and just full of vintage apparel that women were wearing from one decade to another. I just love this. I love the hat. I just feel like, I don't know, today's fashion, we've just lost so much because we hardly ever wear hats anymore. We don't wear gloves except when cold weather, and I just, you know, we just have lost so much, I think, of the elegance that we once had in terms of women's fashion. My daughter Swoop asked me yesterday, did you ever sit like this and have tea or coffee? I said, no, if anyone did that, it was in decades long before I came along. But it just is fun to look at that. Probably just someone's imagination or a Hollywood set. Maybe it was a scene from a Hollywood movie from the 20s. And here is the right-hand side of that butterfly collage I made using scrap papers and flowers. And here was the back page. This was the masterboard, and this is the back page. Here's another masterboard. I don't know that I have done a video about when I made this, but it's just, you know, rather plain on this side, just using book page, using up scraps from my stash is what I was doing. And but on this one I was working on the diagonal, and so everything is going this way and this way, which is very fun to do. And I encourage you to, you know, try different looks, different angles in your collage making, and you'll find it's very rewarding and satisfying and just sheer fun. And so that was that one. Here is the inside to one of the vintage Vogue masterboards I made. I believe there is a video on this making of this, and this was the other side of that one. If you look in my playlist, you'll find this video there on how I made that. And we've got more coffee dyed paper. This is an image that I got that when I was working on the peacocks. So we've got peacocks down there. This is another Vogue cover, and I crop it. These particular covers were much bigger than my journal is, and so what was nice about that was I could pick and choose exactly where I was going to cut to reduce my overall size to fit my page. And so I try to do that artistically, and so that's why she's very asymmetrical on the page instead of plopped right in the middle. I'm an asymmetrical designer. This was you might remember I did a masterboard featuring lace, and this is one half of one side of that masterboard. And here is a center spread. This was another masterboard. I have a video on the making of this, and just using up scraps to begin with, and then putting my Vogue covers on as the focal point. Then here's the back page of that lace masterboard that I did. Here we have another Vogue cover. I just love her. It's just so neat. The artists that Vogue hired to do their covers was just, really outstanding and fun. And then here is another one of the collage pieces that I made to be an end, a side tuck, and inside that tuck I've stuck more postcards and art cards and another tag, and everything designed color-wise to blend well together. Another one of the pages from the Peacocks series, and then here is the inside back of that masterboard from before, and the back cover. This is the fourth signature, and this is a masterboard that I did on the computer, and here's what the whole masterboard looks like, and flowers and birds and a vintage clock in the background, and just really fun to make masterboards on the computer. This is an inside. Is that the same? Yeah. The inside. And this is kind of very similar to this. It's just this was a blown up version of the lady, and here is the distant reduced size, and you can see what a great outfit she has on. So we got more coffee dyed paper. Here is a masterboard that I made using scraps in the background, and then featuring a cover image as the focal point. I did the same here using scraps in the background, but isn't that just really colorful and inviting and warm? It just kind of sings to the soul. The colors are just so beautiful. Another image from the Peacock series. I thought this was really stunning, and what great artwork. And Vogue used this image on one of their covers. I didn't originally come across the Vogue version of it, but I had seen it as just an art piece. Here we have two more Vogue images. The automobile down here and the lady here. I just like these two together. Another peacock image. Here's the back side of that other colorful masterboard that I made. Another back side to a different masterboard with, you know, just a lot of text in the background. And here we have a postcard that's just held there with a paper clip, and a postcard on the other side. When you put something on, whether you're gluing it or you're attaching it with a paper clip or something to one side and it has weight, it's a good idea to do something to the other side to equalize the weight. Otherwise, it just feels awkward to try to turn the page when there's unequal weight. And so that's what I try to do. So that's the conclusion of that signature. And then here's the last one. This is one half of a third masterboard that I made for the Masterboard Theater series. And here's what it looked like from, you know, the whole masterboard. I did this on a computer, and I decided to use it as the cover of this last signature. And you open it up, and here's another masterboard. I hope you can see by this time that I make a lot of masterboards, and I make use of them by turning them into pages for a journal or cutting them up into tags or other ephemera. I don't just make them and do nothing with them. There's always a purpose, and so I encourage you to, you know, use what you make. Here's the flip side of a masterboard, and it was so fitting because I had this piece of pattern paper that I put in there, and these were just scraps I had in the studio. And, you know, so it just is a nice challenge and fun to use up your scraps and in some creative way. And here we have another Vogue cover. Two more Vogue covers, which I thought, you know, they're just, you know, opposite one another. The juxtaposition of that just was really delightful to me. Here's two more Vogue covers, a large one and a small one, leaving some room there on some of the lighter paper for journaling. And here we have some of this the same. Here's the right hand side of a previous masterboard, which, you know, again, you're looking at the left side compared to the right side. You want them to look and feel good together, and the best way to do that is with color. Here we had a lot of teal on this side, so I chose a collaged piece for this end tuck that had the same color palette. So I have the teal on this side and the teal over here with the browns and a little bit of yellow, and then it's just a matter of finding ephemera, postcard, an art card, a tag. Well, these are both art cards. You know, find things to tuck inside that are somewhat harmonious in color. They don't have to be exact, but we just are looking for, when we open it up, we have something overall that's pleasing to the eye. And here I just tucked in a couple of more postcards that I had on hand. This was the right-hand side of a former masterboard. And this is the back page. So there you have it, the 5 signatures that can be interchangeably put in, and I've just randomly decided on the order. You don't have to stay that way. Nothing is sewed or glued in, and so it's a different idea for doing a journal. One doesn't have to lock everything in if you choose not to. I really didn't want to go to the time and trouble to try and get them sewn in the correct place. And I do like the ability to take one out, move it to a different location, and so forth. And so the only thing a person has to be careful of is, when you open it up, you need to know beforehand that the contents inside are not attached to the cover, so that you're careful when you open it, so you don't drop the contents all over the floor. But anyway, this was my take on a vintage high fashion journal. I had so much Vogue imagery, I haven't even scratched the surface of what I have. And so maybe I was a bit lazy and not looking for imagery from other sources. I don't know, but I love the covers so much that I just wanted to go with Vogue. It's always been my favorite source of fashion design through the years, and I just felt real fortunate I was able to come up with a source to true vintage Vogue, so I didn't have to use anything that's current. Anyway, I hope you like this walkthrough of this journal. Hopefully you learned something, or something inspired you in your own work and design, and if so, that would please me to know. And I hope if so, you'll give the video a like and leave me a comment about what you're working on and what you think of the idea of this particular journal and how it struck you, and I'd appreciate it. So, thanks for being here. This is Miss Darling calling this a wrap. Bye-bye.